Hello, hello, good morning. My name is Aptitude, and today we're doing lesson 9, setting up a 3D scene inside of Davinci Resolve. So, 3D compositing. Something that really sets Fusion apart is its 3D scene system. In addition to its compositing toolset, Fusion includes a robust 3D authoring environment complete with lighting effects, 3D camera match moving, materials, and shaders, 3D titles, particles, and the ability to import complex geometry and animation using the industry standard FBX and Alembic files formats. Um, and in this section, you'll learn how to navigate, perform basic scene setup, work with particles and titles in 3D, and even perform a digital set extension using the powerful 3D camera tracker. All right, so we got some overlap here with what we've been doing with the evening stream with the Unreal Engine. Hopefully there's some concepts that overlap and some ideas that maybe of how to combine the two. So setting up a 3D scene. Many VFX are about reproducing the characteristics of the real world, such as perspective, atmosphere, depth cues, and occlusion of objects in a scene. And while you could create these effects using 2D compositing, they are much easier to do in 3D compositing environments. Fusion's 3D compositing includes the ability to position multiple elements in 3D space. You can add 3D cameras, lights, 3D shapes, and apply a host of tools specifically designed for generating 3D VFX and motion graphics. So we're going to be placing elements on 3D shapes and then navigating in 3D, using shapes in 3D, entering simple expressions, creating multiple axes of rotation, adding lights and cameras, and practicing our, maybe doing a practice exercise. Maybe we'll just do the main goals here. We'll see. Let's see. Jumping into Davinci Resolve here. Which one do they want? They want lesson part 3. So this lesson and the following one combine to introduce you to the basic construction of a 3D scene. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing that on stream. By creating a broadcast news graphic, you'll learn how to navigate in 3D space and use some of the everyday tools for compositing, and then placing elements on 3D shapes. Instead of creating a Fusion composition with the timeline, you can create a Fusion composition in a bin. This is often appropriate when creating motion graphics where you may not be ready to edit into a timeline, but you need to begin creating graphics for a project. So note, the timelines bin includes a backups bin with Fusion comps saved at various stages of the lesson. Available for reference and reverse engineering the node trees. So backups. You can hop into the backups. Again, in the YouTube description, I have the website. But if you're on Twitch, you can go to this URL, blackmagic.com/product/Davinci Resolve/training, and then at the bottom here, all the way down here, I'm inside of here. You can get the files and the PDF that I'm following. And then I'm probably not going to be reading every word, just going through and kind of narrating as we go. Let's see, Fusion 17 Lessons 3. So right click and restore project archive lesson 3. Actually, it's just in here, right? Just click that, press open. So we right click, choose restore project. We're doing lesson 3. Once the archive opens in the edit page, right click media 3D globe bin and choose new comp. Okay, so media 3D glow, right click, new comp, new timeline? No, new fusion comp. What FPS? Oh, they don't specify. $24, I guess. We could also look into these a little bit more. We have the metadata. Okay, so they're 24 FPS. Yeah. All right, so that's the right thing. And then we hop into that. In the dialogue, name the clip "Breaking News." Okay. Huh? No, it's much easier to work with 3D objects if you have 2 viewers. So if your interface is configured with a single viewer, correct that now. It is, but I'm streaming about it. So in the upper left-hand corner, click the media pool and select the 3D globe bin. We're already there. And then from the 3D, drag earth.tiff into the empty area. Loop. And display it on 1. And then give yourself some space by closing this back up. And this is the stylized map of Earth that has an alpha channel, as you can tell from its checkerboard background. Again, let's get organized by starting with renaming. We're gonna properly name this Earth. Earth. So we know what it is. And then in any video clip, still image or 2D generator cannot be part of a 3D scene without first connecting to a 3D plane or 3D shape node. So with our Earth node selected, open the effects library and choose 3D category, and we're looking for shape 3D tool. Then press 1. So they're saying to go all the way over here into the effects, and then we go into tools, and then we go into 3D, and then you search through here. Which one are they looking for? They're looking for us to get into image plane, 3D image plane. It's definitely going to be here, but you can also just type in shift space and do image plane 3D, and actually image 3D plane is also here. So we plug that in. Now it shows up in 3D. And the Earth image now appears in 3D. Yes. While holding down the middle mouse, you can also press Alt, and you can kind of like go around it. And then for flat 3D objects, you can use an image plane 3D instead of a shape 3D. The image plane in 3D retains the aspect ratio of the image or video clip connected to it. And then you open the media pool, and from the 3D globe bin, you're going to drag grid.tiff into the party. Grid.tiff has entered the party. And you press 2 to view it. I don't know why that's not showing up, but you can also click and drag that in. You want to rename it to grid. And then with the grid node selected, open the effects library, and you're doing tools, 3D category. We're going to turn this one into a shape 3D. Oh, this one also turned into shape 3D. Huh. But whatever. We'll remember that. But shape 3D, you can just grab it from here. Plug it in. And the grid is also displayed in 3D. However, you can combine 3D images to exist in the same 3D world using a merge 3D. It's located on the last group in the toolbar. While the merge node is the fundamental 2D compositing tool, the merge node, the 3D node is the fundamental 3D compositing. So over here we got this one. This one. We can merge it together. And now they're in the same thing together. And we drag the output so that, yeah, so we get the two combined. Although I wonder if I switch or put this into a shape 3D. They're different. All right. I'm pretty sure the instructions said to do image plane, but whatever. We're moving on. Although you can see no visual difference, the Merge 3D node allows you to connect other 3D images so that they will exist in the same 3D space. The viewer shows the images on top of each other to give the appearance of a more realistic 3D view. You can enable default lights. Right-click on Viewer 2 and choose 3D options, lighting. Right-click, 3D options, lighting. Wow, it's like we're there. Tip: one of the most common issues that newcomers experience when working with Fusion is an inability to see the effect of lighting in the 3D scene. First, an OpenGL preview of the lighting must be enabled for each viewer in order to preview the lighting effects in the 3D environment. So using the right-click method described in the previous step, do that. And then second, lighting must be enabled in the renderer 3D node. More on this later. Finally, in the Merge 3D, pass-through lights must be enabled to appropriately illuminate all desired objects. More on this later. So preview the light by holding the Alt key and using the middle mouse to admire your progress. And then this default lighting provides a soft directional light that comes from the upper right of the 3D world. The light object is not visible in the viewer or the inspector. It merely provides some default shading to the objects so they may appear more 3D while you work. Yo, Rana, I think I've made this one a while ago as well. Looks good. Good luck. Thanks, man. How's your journey into all of the DAWs? Navigating in 3D. Unlike the standard Merge 2D node, the 3D can connect multiple clips and images. The Merge 3D node has no foreground or background because the order of the elements as seen in the viewer is determined by the Z position values. This behavior makes it extremely important that you understand how to view and Move elements in 3D space. Whoa, you got a lot of automation going. Oops. Oh. Making electronic music be like ocean waves. Whoa. Huh. So that's Reaper. They all got their flavor. That's the flavor of Reaper. Looks kind of. Do you get to choose? Is that choosing the? Are those default color schemes? Like, did you just press the plus, or were you changing around the? Were you changing around the colors? No. It has a flavor. I mean, the image you're sending, this has a flavor to it. I know, but did you select the colors, or was this like you just pressed plus or whatever, or you just automated it and then it came up? See? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like this looks kind of like got the flavor. It's got a flavor. For those to be the default colors, as the default colors. That's all I'm saying. So in the node editor, this is the grid, and you can go to transform and set it to 000. In many applications, 3D software, Studio Max, Unreal Engine, the Z-axis is the vertical axis. Oh, that's gonna trip me up later. Foreshadowing. The Z-axis is the vertical. I know that's the case in Unreal, for sure. And the Y-axis is the depth. Therefore, be careful if you're simply copying and pasting values between applications. I don't like that. That doesn't make sense. Why did they do that? I'm sure there's a huge, like, actual reason, but... You know. To move an image in 3D space, you use the Shape 3D node, which adds 3D positioning, rotation, and pivot controls. And we can also select our individual things and move them in their Shape 3D space by doing that. But all together, we can do this on the merge. It goes back to like back in the day. It's one of those things where it's like we just have to deal with it. They probably debated it like 30 years ago or 40 years ago, and we're like, that happened with you ever heard about, what is it, NTSC, the historical disagreement? Yeah, you ever heard about, there's, I'm gonna butcher how this is explained, but the reason that cameras are 24.96 FPS, that story is like really interesting. Let me see if I can find that YouTube video. History of NTSC. There's a YouTube video I watched about that. It was really well done. Is this it?
Hi, John.
No, that's not it. It was a really good video this dude made. Anyways, yeah. So 24.96 doesn't make sense. It turns out that like 25 FPS is way more logical. But it was just because it was like, because you know how like Europe, the rest of the world does 25 FPS, and the US does 24.96 or 23.96. That just comes down to like, at the time, that was what they did. And then after they set it up, like shortly after, they're like, oh wait, it would have been made way more sense to do 25 FPS. and like the rest of the world did it. Yes, yep, it's the same reason that we do 29.96 FPS. And it forever confuses me. Forever confuses me when all that stuff is like. Let me see if I can find that video, because that was, I mean, it was really well done. This is it, right? No? PAL and NTSC. Okay, if I don't see it in a couple seconds, all right. Okay, anyways, moving on. So you can move these around. In the inspector, drag the Z translation slightly to the right until the grid is in front of the Earth. Oh, so we're just kind of slightly offsetting this. So that the grid so we can move this up just a little bit. Huh? Is that what we wanted? Oh, maybe they want the Earth. Remember those names when we had CRT TVs? Yeah. But they still persist. NTSC, PAL, that's how they still do. That's why we have cameras that are at 24.96 and whatnot. Oh, we're moving this back. I'll move it back a tiny bit. Tiny bit. And then in the inspector, unlike this, the ordering is done by altering the Z. In Viewer 2, you can alt drag until the Earth rotates in front of the grid. Yeah, we just want the Earth in front of the grid. And these are the tools: pan, rotate, zoom in, zoom out. Now in the inspector, click the gray dot under the X and Z controls to reset them to 0. Okay, so we were just observing. That's how it works. You can kind of move it around. And then to get back to the setting, you get a little dot there. Click that, and it snaps back into place, back to its origin. And then dragging in the viewer, while set to perspective, view only changes the angle from which you are viewing. So you can use the perspective view axis control in the lower left corner to orientate yourself and the viewer. You get a little display here, a little tiny, I don't even know if you can see it on the stream, but you get a little XYZ indicator, which comes in handy if you're trying to figure out how to get yourself orientated in 3D space. And then intuitively moving the perspective viewer to different angles and moving objects in 3D space are essential activities in 3D compositing. In upcoming lessons, you'll do more to practice that. So let's turn this into a Reaper. Here's the flavor I was going for. I was going to say is that it kind of feels like cyberpunk with the color schemes. Feels kind of like cyberpunky. That's the vibe I'm getting. Even these themes, even though these are like different themes, they still are giving me cyberpunk vibes. So the Shapes 3D node is a flexible node that enables you to Yeah, the names. The Neptune 6 or Cyberpunk. This is the, I don't know what this is called, but Cyberpunk. This angle, actually no, this one arguably the least. Oh, it's called Peace Theme. So but yeah, this is making me feel like Reaper is Cyberpunk kind of aesthetic. So Reaper is the DAW for Cyberpunks. I don't know. This, I mean, it is. This is old school. It's kind of got that old school look to it. I wouldn't call this cyberpunk. I would call this steampunk. For people over 60 years old, yeah. Oh, is this the updated, the newer version? Vintage, yeah. I mean, because you sent, because this one is like the older version. Is this the newer version? Or is that also the old version? I can't tell. Cyberpunk. Now they transition. Now it's all cyberpunk. Oh, I didn't scroll down here. So we select the grid shape 3D node, and then we choose sphere. Grid over here, controls, shape, turn into sphere. Then we do the same thing for the Earth. Drag the radius slider to 0.2. We could drag this down to 0.2. And in the node editor, select the Earth's shape 3D, and we're gonna do the same thing. Select that. Still don't know why sometimes that doesn't pop up here. But we change this to shape 3D sphere 0.2. And then in the viewer, you can kind of check out your masterpiece by control middle mouse wheel and then alt middle mouse wheel. Wow. Or if you want, you can look like Pro Tools. See, but Pro Tools has like that gradient through the whole thing. It makes it not feel so cyberpunk. But this feels, I don't know. I don't have the words for the for describing these different DAWs. I'd have to play around a little more in them. That would be a massive downgrade to go to Pro Tools, is that? I'm happy with Ableton. But if I want to go cyberpunk, I know which one to go to. So while holding down the middle mouse button, you can option grab, and got this sphere. It would crash every 5 seconds and have horrible. It would explode. Fusion provides a true 3D environment. well, you keep showing me all this Reaper stuff, and I'm like, feel like you're trying to be like, yo, man, you should convert. And I'm like, I like Ableton. I know. I'm kidding. How about throw some Blender things my way? Because I'm definitely looking to passive, because it's like this stuff that you throw onto the stream, it's like passively, you know, like the side thing on the video that we're passively gaining knowledge about. Blender and modeling. That's the passive gain of this stream, is familiarity with different programs. Getting comfortable with the different interfaces and stuff. So we're gonna select the grid's shape 3D node. Using the arrow overlays in the viewer, we can drag the X arrow to the right until it reaches the edge of the viewer. And now you have a high-tech Earth with its grid moon in perfect position to begin animating them. One thing I was pretty bummed about was about that MIDI effects in Ableton Bitwig. In Ableton Bitwig, you can add them and change MIDI without changing notes. You can add them and change MIDI without changing notes, and then you can automate it, and Reaper didn't have those. I think that's a thing. I looked into that yesterday real quick. I think that's a thing that you have to enable. The, what was it called? NTM? Or something? And then I found out Reaper has like 30 MIDI effects out of MPE, yes. Has 30 MIDI effects I didn't know about. Yeah, MPE. I googled that real quick. You can also have like, it supports it so that you can like have a device that you like physically just kind of move like this to have effects on it. Pretty cool. So entering simple expressions in the Y rotation of our Earth, right? Select Earth's 3D shape node. And we do the equal sign. Earth. We do the rotation of the Y. We type in equals. And we could do time times 10. And then if we play, it disappears. I think it's there. It's just underneath our grid. Our grid thing is getting in the way. Oh, I don't know. It blinks for a second and then. Oh, the push 3. Yeah, I haven't looked at this yet. I have the push 2. I didn't use it very much. I ended up not using it very often. It was just like, oh, because I put this on the Z. Oops, times 10. Then do I delete this? Remove. Set the default. Does it matter that this is up if I don't use it? Delete. No. Oh. I don't use groove boxes either. I know they are more hands-on, but I like the crazy flexibility software gives you. The thing with the push 2 is that, I mean, of course it takes time to get used to it, but I think the idea is that like it can turn into, instead of you using Ableton, you use the push supposed to be, that's the idea. It's like it's fully supportive in that way. But I ended up just never, because I'm in translation. I ended up never like really getting into it. There we go. Hardware stuff's, they're cool, but they're also very restrictive. But I can definitely see the push being useful for a lot of people. I think it's because I am just comfortable working in the software from years of doing that before I got the push, and then by the time I got the push, I was like, didn't feel like using it. Because I think for a lot of people, it's like, you know, it's just trying to get to a point where you can like sort of jam out and flow on the with the software, the hardware. But I never really had trouble with that while using the software. So I'm watching this. This is cool. What is this? This is made in Blender. Oh, the new cinematic for Need for Speed. Damn, it's hot. Too loud. That's hype. Yes, you got to take the philosophy of Beethoven and just write music. As Beethoven famously quoted, saying, just get good. This is from a studio, not just an artist, so not just some random render. Yeah, as Beethoven famously said, get good. So you the time expression is always written in lowercase. And although this procedure may seem cryptic at first, it is easy to understand. The word time is a special reserved placeholder expression. See, they say it's easy, and then they say special reserved placeholder expression. That's kind of a pretty complicated. And then that the fusion will replace with the value of the current frame number. The frame the playhead is currently parked at. Anyways, so time just takes the frame. If it's 24 FPS, then it will move 24 units in 1 second. Yeah. And then you can multiply that by 10 so that it moves 240 units per second. Oh yeah, you sent me this the other day. I didn't watch it on screen, but then afterwards I watched it and I was like, oh, I should have played this one. Because that's rigging. Advanced rigging. With stretch and IK and oh, this is the original one? Or I mean, this is like the one they used? You can do this stuff in Unreal. I mean, actually, no, you do this stuff and then you bring it into Unreal. Well, you can rig in Unreal. They came out, their new update is that they have they're making the process for rigging easier with some template type module elements. No, you can rig. Actually, no, I don't know about these like. Well, I mean, this is Blender. I'm just not sure that. I think you can. I think you can do this type of rigging inside of Unreal. Yeah, you can get this type of. It's hard. I don't know if I could. But there's some presets, template stuff that you can check out inside of Unreal. that has, yeah, it has blend shapes, and it has IK and all this. Their default mannequin actually has, I don't know if he has stretching. It does. It does. Yeah, the default Unreal Engine mannequin, I could show that to tonight. Sometimes what you do is you set like a limit on these arms. There's not actually, it doesn't look like there's actual limits like this. Like that didn't look like, and this stretching, I think it's just what we're seeing is the guy, the artist. He knows the limits, but it doesn't look like there's any actual hard limits in here. Which I'm just saying, it's like doesn't look like there's any special. I'm not trying to, I'm just saying that this is approachable inside of Unreal Engine. Working with content, importing FBX. It's a stylized character, so it's not going to have limits. Right, right. But there's nothing about this rigging that is extra unique, or that's specialized or unreplicable. I think the pipeline for rigging is going to be getting an update, or it is. Maybe we could jump into that later and kind of check it out. Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying yes. It's super complex. And this is perfect, right? That's another thing. It's like an artist who like has made their perfect rig. But the tools, I don't think there's anything special. It's just the application is so professionally done. That's what I'm trying to say. This is 5 months ago. I think that they just updated. I can't check that out right now. I want to finish this, but it's very exciting because I've been through the rigging process in Unreal, and it is a pain. It's, I mean, the rigging process and I've been through the rigging process. It's a pain. I did it in wait, let me see. No, yeah, this is the older one. So what I saw was that they're introducing, I saw a clip on somebody's YouTube video, but they're introducing so that it's more like a modular system where you like have a default character, right? Like this is a humanoid or a human skeleton. And the template works with like, instead of like doing like this bone connects to this bone and this bone connects to this bone, it's like this is an arm from a template, and you like plug it in, and then you can kind of like mix and match, it looks like. But yeah, I'll have to check that out a little closer. Drag and drop, yeah. But not in depth. Well, I mean, maybe that will, I mean, I think making this stuff easier to do, just flat out easier, will make it so that we can spend more time on like stylizing the characters. I'm not sure that like this rigging process being so intricate, like it's arduous. It's not really like That doesn't make it easier or like more, just takes more time, which if anything makes it mean that you're spending less time on stylizing the character. Yes, this was actually the video. This was the video. Yep. Or wait, 2 weeks ago. Oh, this is the dedicated video. Yeah, I saw his video where he kind of like did the overview. But this is the I'm gonna watch this afterwards. What about when you have a complex character that's not a humanoid, like a dragon right there? I think what they did in After Effects was they basically had two types of templates when you're building, which is one is like it's a human structure, skeletal structure, and then you have like the different, what it was like bipedal structure or something like that. And then what they just showed was like a snake. I mean, not a, well, it was like a snake skeleton. That's what a dragon is when it like does that. I think that's kind of how they differentiate it. That's what they do if we're talking about like making a template system, that's kind of what you do, right? It's like when you have less bones and deformations. But there's also the possibility that they just like it's possible that this, I'm speculating. I need to look into this. But that they have like this template type system that makes it easier to do most of the stuff, and then if you need it fully customized, you'll very likely be able to do that by digging into the stuff a little deeper, which is kind of how Unreal Engine works. Like you can dig into each little asset and material, and if you want, but they kind of make it easier and easier to like stay on these higher levels and just like use the templates. And then if you need to, you can dig into it and customize it, or not use the template and still set it up. That's my guess. I'm speculating though. I have to watch this. So a list of additional expression examples can be found on Davinci Resolve's reference manual. And then you play the animation and you see that the globe spins. And you click the expression field and change the number from 10 to 1. So this is the Earth, and we can change it to 1. It goes a lot slower. In the upper right, you can pin this, Shape 3D. And then in the node editor, select the grids, Shape 3D. And we're going to do the same thing with the rotation on the Y. Let's see if we grab this, transform, rotation on the Y. At the top of the inspector, you can click and drag to link these two. So we get a little pick whip, and we can pick whip it to this one. And now they're linked. And then tip, if you have limited screen real estate, you can click the disclosure triangles to collapse the various inspector sections, thus making a shorter distance to drag the pick whip. So you can play the comp. And then although that worked, the grid is rotating slowly. We would like it to rotate a bit faster than the Earth's rotation to make it more visible. It is easy to do so by modifying the expression that you added with the pick whip. In the expression field, insert a ×2. So just at the end here, we can do ×2. Now it's going twice as fast, but they're still linked. And then you play the comp and you can see it works. In the node editor, select the Earth's shape 1 this one. And then in the upper right, oh, turn off the pin once you're done. Clean up. And then animation via expressions allows you to animate without keyframes. So no matter how you change your comp, the rotation never stops. That's smart animation. And then creating multiple axes of rotation. The grid also requires an orbital center as well as the axis of rotation. That's right. So the orbital center will be used to rotate the grid around the Earth. To create a second point of rotation to orbit the grid around the Earth, you need to add a new pivot point for the grid. So the 3D equivalent of a transform tool that you use when 2D compositing is the transform 3D, and it includes a complete set of 3D transforms, including rotation and pivot. So select the grid 3Ds, the grid's shape 3D to, I mean, we could just switch these names. This one would just to make sure we're all on the same page. And then select the grid shape 3D 2. And we're going to transform 3D. Transform 3D. We're going to put it in after hour right here. And then inserting a transform 3D node adds a second pivot point to the grid. The grid has its own pivot point based on the shape 3D node that acts as the grid's axis of rotation. The transform 3D node adds an additional pivot in the center of the 3D world that will act as the grid's orbital center. With the transform 3D selected, we drag the Y rotation slider back. Okay, so that's selected. Rotation of the Y. Oh, wow. That's it. When you're rotating only one object on a single axis, you can use the pivot controls to offset the object's axis of rotation. I didn't actually know how to do that inside of Davinci Resolve. And it goes parent, child, child. Yeah. So parent, child, child. That's kind of how to think about that. Select the grids, transform 3D. In the transform, double click the Y rotation, and then we're putting in time times 1.5. Rotation equals Y equals time times 1.5. Yeah. Based on the location of the, and then minus 90? I don't know. Why? Play the comp to see the spheres rotating. So now we add lights and cameras. From the toolbar, drag a new merge onto the thing. Merge. We're going to add our lights and cameras onto that, aren't we? Light, we're going to add a directional light. Directional light. Gonna plug that in. When a light is added to a scene, directly to a Merge 3D or indirectly through a connected Merge 3D. The default lights in the scene are disabled, and only the lights connected to the node tree illuminate the objects in the scene. However, we do not see any lights illuminating our scene because by default lights are not passed from one merge to another. So we gotta go into here. Gotta remember to, and the one button. We gotta click the one button. And then holding the oh, I didn't see your messages. Whoa, I missed quite a bit there. My bad. You're saying these are very simple rigs. Oh wait, the modular rig one looks kind of like the Blender plugin. Auto rig. That's the thing. It's fine if you are rigging basic characters, but how is it going to work with like a... Oh, that's what... I caught that, right? With like stylized characters where you'd rig the cloths and props attached to the body. Well, attaching the clothes and the props, that wouldn't be an issue. The props, like if it's a hard surface, it just attaches, you know, in a position. But if it's a cloth, you just have, I mean, characters will have their okay. So you select the directional light node, and in the transform tab, use the Y and Z rotation controls to set the light as if it were coming from the upper right of the frame. So we're selecting the light, we're trying to move it over here, over here. We don't have a camera right now in this. Let's throw a camera in here. Move the camera, boot. Select the node, move the camera back. And then we can see the thing. We can go to views. Oh, camera, and then camera 3D. So now we see the view. Wow. We can move this over, they said, from the right side. Huh? Okay, cool. And we're kind of in, what else do we gotta do? Select the Merge 3D 2 node again, and then we're gonna click the ambient light. So we're just gonna add an ambient light. Ambient, plug it in. Helps the overall ambient light of things. I'm gonna add it, they're saying to put it to 0.3. Why are there different light types? Why? The Fusion page includes 4 lights that you can add to a scene, each with its own characteristics. We got the ambient light, which illuminates an entire scene equally. That's what we just added in. And then similar to adding a gain brightness. Because it has no position or rotation, it is used primarily to fill in areas that other lights may leave too dark. We've got directional lights, which has a clear direction. It's got a clear direction but lacks a specific source location. You do not control its position, but you can use rotation controls to indicate from where in the scene the light appears to be coming. So this is similar to sunlight. And then because no matter how far away an object may be, there's no light fall off. Then there's the point light, which has a clear position in space that emits light in all direction. Therefore, only its position affects the light, not its rotation. And then a light bulb is a good example of a point light. Unlike both ambient and directional lights, a point light may fall off with distance. And then there's the spotlight, which comes from a specific point and has a clearly defined cone. So when you're setting up and animating a camera, even without a camera, you can set up the perspective view to see your scene from different angles. This can often simulate ideas on how ultimately you may want the scene to be framed. To show as much of the arc animation from the moon as possible, let's position the Earth slightly to the left using just the standard perspective. So we jumped the gun and we went straight into this one. We went straight into well, what? Huh? I don't know. Oh, because I'm pressing ASD and it's doing alpha. And then I press D, which does something. Those are Davinci Resolve controls. All right, there we go. We want to select and hop back into the 3D camera view. So this is perspective. And we could kind of line this up. We could try and line this up the way that where our perspective kind of is right now. We right click, camera. Yeah. Oh, you can copy point of view. So if we like where we were with the perspective and we can't quite figure out how to get back to it, it was like this position, I guess. We can right click. What do we do? We can right click the perspective axis label again. Oh, click here. Oh, that's hidden. Copy point of view to, and then it snaps the camera. And let's see if the camera actually has this same view, if it actually took the perspective. We go to camera 3D. Yeah, wow. It changes the perspective. It changes the camera's film back. And then in the node editor, select the 3D, the merge 3D one. Put it there. Right click perspective to choose perspective. For our animation, we'll create a simple pullback on the camera to expose more space on the right. If you haven't already, move the start of the render range Okay, let me load them up. Oh. 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 Oh, rigging a bike. Yeah, that's good. Oops. Mechanical, organic, and people do rigging differently in different studios for different purposes. Yeah. Yeah. Rigging a brush. Does it say? Unless they make it as powerful and flexible like Maya, it's only going to be useful for like a certain group of people. Dude, it is going to be. It's going to be. It's the game industry uses it. You can import. I don't know. You can import rigs into. It doesn't matter. Like the workflow. Not for rigging. All of these tiny controllers. Yeah, there's so much here. So much. It's still gonna work. I rigged a bike inside of After Effects. It was not anything like this though. Not this complex. Not sure how you can do modular rigs for infinite variations. I mean, whatever. We're talking in theory, because like I don't know. There's like a clip that I'm basing what I'm saying off of, and you haven't even seen the reference yet. So we're just kind of talking in. Uh, we're talking in space, you know. I don't have like the reference material up to demonstrate what I was talking about. You just have to. I mean, whatever. Just gotta find out. Yeah, so for like fast for most default type rigs, which are just what people want, and then for more advanced stuff, you'll probably have to do you'll have to do it like the hard mode, which is usually how it goes, right? Like there's an easy template mode, which will be usable for most cases, and then there'll be like, but how do I do 500 joints and make it perfect? And for that, it's probably still going to be, you just got to do it the professional way. The modular type thing is going to be the gateway drug, and then it eventually leads to you making rigs like this. the really hard way. You'd be happier if I don't have to use Maya and do everything in Blender or Unreal. I mean, I think you can. I think you can right now. It's that it's really hard to do it. You know? That's it's that it's technically possible right now, but you know, instead of me learning about Davinci Resolve, it would have taken me, you know, months to figure out how to properly professionally rig a character, which maybe, you know, in the future you want to do, but I think it's possible now. It's just really hard. You can create fast, easy rigs with like 1 to 2 clicks in other softwares too. Depends what you're doing. Yep. Yeah, like I used the one in After Effects for the 2D animations. It was like called Buick Basil, I believe. That was fun. Good way to kind of learn the concepts of IK, and we don't talk about AE. No, no, no. AE's all right. I don't hate it. I'm not a hater. I'm not an AE hater. You hate it? Yeah. I don't hate AE. But if I can use Fusion, I think I will. Years, I know, that's how I feel. There's been so much time and craftsmanship that went into AE by the community. That's why the visuals have gotten to like so good. But it's just time and effort put into the program, I think. I think if that much time went into Fusion, waiting for the render queue. Oh yeah. Yeah, man, it was like years ago when the computer, like my computer just was no good at all. It was just like, well, I guess I'll check how this is doing in 3 days. And it was like a small thing, you know. But let's see. We want to move to the end, position the mouse, and in the viewer, we're going to be moving the camera around. We play the comp to see the animation. So we can keyframe this camera. We could also do a cool thing where we connect this camera so that it's looking at this center point. Near clip, where is that? Focal plane, import camera, film back? Mode, how do we do that? Transform, use target. So if we set the target, oh, right away it figured out our target. We could also put the target on this. I like targeting this stuff. Oh, here we go. If we target this guy, and then we, oh, huh? Camera should be targeting. What's up? Huh? Don't know why it's not following. They made like so much marketing for their Rotobrush and how it's going to change how we live life. And meanwhile, Resolve added that in the color page with no marketing. You mean Magic Mask? I still feel like the 3D camera tracker, I kind of feel like I like that one more still. Eh. What? 3D tracker and AE is faster, but it's limited. Yeah. What's going on with this camera? Why isn't it? Why isn't it locked onto our orb? We pick. What? Hmm. Since AE isn't 3D to begin with, like doing projects and matte painting is such a pain inside of AE. I feel like matte painting is actually one of the things that AE excels at. It does well. Especially if you have 3D geometry to project videos, etc. No, yeah, no, what am I saying? It's just because I've seen people's results with matte painting, you know, where you get the parallax type stuff, the stylized. There's one, because you said that, and like one artist that I've seen came to mind where he does that style, and it looks awesome. Can't use 3D geometries to deform. I should do some projection type things. Projects. So in Viewer 1, drag the camera Z. Na 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 na. So if we go here and we put the translation to, I mean, we just put keyframes here. Then we can move over here. We didn't need these keyframes. Okay. And that's our animation. Na 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 na. Oh. Matte painting. This is actually kind of what I was touching on with the intro title sequence I was working on. But I mean, this is inside a nuke. Projecting on cards. That's what I had to do with that intro title sequence. But I mean, this is well done. What? No 3D points in AE. Yeah. Especially if you have 3D geometries. Yeah, that's like the real way, right? You find the point clouds and then you kind of like block in these geometries. That's how you do it if you want to add in like simulations, right? Especially if you have 3D geometries to project onto, then you'd have to use plugins as usual. Right, so if you wanted to have simulations that properly match, this is how you do it, right? I did this before with what's it called? Polycam? I took a Polycam, whatever you call it. I took a Polycam of the whole room of a scan. Yeah. I took a Polycam scan, and then I went over in Unreal Engine and I blocked it out like this. I still have that file. I could bring it up. And then but yeah, I didn't know how to like project it onto the surface. '3D camera projections, yeah. Yeah. Most likely this room doesn't exist, you think? You don't think? Yeah, I don't know how they'd get like this type of. I like looking at those things though. It's fun. Fun to see what's ahead, you know? See the stuff that we're probably gonna be going into soon. I can't use. Oh, what is this? These are some nice animations. No, I can't play that. I can't play anything. Actually, it was cool. I was playing music last night. I was able to. Oh, I like this. I like this animation style. Reminds me of oh, okay, so oh, what's it? The guys who do the title screens, title screen VFX for. I'm just gonna type in. I'm trying to find the guys who are like the best. I follow a few of them um on Instagram. Can't think of their name right now. Like his name is the guy that I follow is like K Song or butcher that name. Whoa. I want to see this one. Oh, he's doing comparisons? I've never seen this before. Never seen this guy. Wow, this is nice. High quality.
And for each layer, let's say I have multiple effects applied, I could change the order of the effects, or if I have multiple masks, I can change the order of the masks. But you can't, for example, apply the effects before the masks are applied. In Nuke, we can apply operations in whatever order we want, just by rearranging the order of the nodes. So how about this? Let's actually build a real visual effects shot to see why this all matters. We'll take this shot and we'll replace these screens with some cute cats. Really quickly though, I just want to say videos like this can easily take a month of my life to create. From researching, writing scripts, animating graphics, crafting examples, filming, editing, and for this one, creating that intro song. I hope you can tell that I really care about giving you the best information in the most effective and engaging way possible. And so in order to keep this quality up, if you can afford to support me, Patreon is a really good place for that. I want these tutorials to continue to be free so that people who can't pay for them can still have this sort of information. So I really rely on those patrons, and of course a huge big thanks to all the current patrons already helping out. Okay, let's get back to creating our VFX shot. Starting here in After Effects, we have this layer with the TVs and this layer with the cat footage. We want to reposition our cat footage so it's sort of in the right position for the middle TV. Now, we want to mask out the screen but still have the ability to reposition the cat afterwards. If I draw a mask on this layer and I move the layer, the mask will move as well. This is because the layer masks are applied before the transform adjustments. We want those to be applied after the transform adjustments. But remember, this sort of reordering isn't possible with After Effects. So instead, we'll create the masks a different way using the track mats, since those are applied after the transform adjustments. We'll create a separate blank layer and draw a mask around the screen on this layer. We'll then set the cat layer to use this layer as a mask. Now we can resize the cat footage as desired. Here in Nuke, I've got this node reading in the photo of the TVs, and this other node is our cat footage. First, I'll merge the cat footage on top of the TV photo with this merge node. Then I'll add this transform node to roughly position the cat footage. Now in Nuke, I can view any node in our graph by connecting it to this viewer node. I can look at the background, or the cats after they're scaled down. Next, I'll add this roto node just floating here for now, and I'm going to view the background photo so I can draw a mask around the TV screen. Then I'll move this roto node over here and add a merge node. I'll set this merge node to the mask operation to apply this roto as a mask to our cat footage. Finally, I'm going to add a dot node so I can label this as our middle screen. This node does nothing to the image. So now let's look at everything we've done. If I disable these nodes, we can easily analyze the order of operations. First, we scale down the footage, then we mask it, and then it is merged over the background. And this order gives us the desired flexibility to resize the footage without that mask moving. Next, in After Effects, I'm going to duplicate the cat footage twice and create 2 more track mats for the left and right screens. I'll then reposition the cats to fit the screens. In Nuke, to create 2 more screens, we're going to duplicate these transform and masking nodes twice, and then hook these up to the original footage. And I'll turn off these mask nodes since they won't be accurate just yet. So here we're essentially creating these 3 different branches for our middle, left, and right screens, where we can apply different operations to the footage. And afterwards, we want to bring these 3 branches back together. So let's add a merge node and merge the left screen over the middle. Then we'll add another merge node and merge the right screen over the other 2. Then these are all merged over the background. So you can see if I adjust this transform node, I have my left screen, and if I adjust the other transform node, we see the right screen. Next, I just have to update the mask for our left screen and for our right screen as well. Let's turn these merge nodes back on, and ta-da, we have our 3 screens. Next, we want to apply a glow effect to the screens. In After Effects, I'll add the same glow effect to each layer of the cat footage. If we look at them alone, we can see the glow is not extending beyond the edges of the screens. We want it to look like this. What's happening is that for each screen, the glow effect is applied first, which is followed by the track matte operation, which cuts out the screens. In Nuke, we can recreate this issue by adding the glow here. What we want is for the glow to happen here, after the mask operations. But in After Effects, we have no way to change this order. So to fix this, let's first delete the glow effect from these layers. Then we'll select the video and matte layers and pre-compose them together. This essentially takes all the operations applied to these layers and bundles them together into a new source layer. Now we can add a glow effect to this new pre-composed layer and adjust a few settings. If I turn the background on again, we'll see that the glow extends beyond the edges of the screens just like we want it to. In Nuke, our glowing screens are merged over the background and we see a similar result. So we're all set here. Next, we want to lower the contrast on all the screens, and let's make the 2 outer screens black and white. In After Effects, we can apply a levels effect to this layer before the glow effect, and we'll lift the output black level. Then we'll go into this pre-comp and we'll add a saturation effect to the left screen and turn the saturation to 0. We'll then copy this to the right screen. Now if we go back into the main composition, we're seeing the desired result of these color adjustments. Now into Nuke, let's first lower the contrast on our screens by adding a grade node right here and increasing the value of the lift slightly. Then to make the right and left screens black and white, I want to rearrange things here just a little, and then I'll add a color correction node right before we branch the left and right screens apart. In this color correct node, I'll set the saturation to 0. So now we have this grade node which lowers the contrast on all the screens, and the corrector node which makes only the left.
Yeah, man. I know what you're saying. Like, that part, it's not intuitive about having to pre-compose. And then when it's laid out like this, it's like, oh, we just put it here.
Left and right screens, black and white. Perfect. Now that we've created pretty much the same shot with layers and nodes, let's look at the second big difference between the two, and that's the overall organization. With nodes in a node graph, you can easily see at a glance how the shot is being built up. I can select different nodes and turn them on and off to see how they're affecting the shot. I can also view different parts of the graph to easily focus on certain elements. For example, let's just look at our cat footage, and we'll quickly add this node, and let's clone some cats around. Then, when we go back to viewing the final merge node, this effect is applied throughout the whole graph and updates everything. With layers here in After Effects, visually, we don't get as clear an overview of how the shot is being built up. We can click different layers to see what effects are applied, or we can click into the pre-comp to see what layers and effects are in here. There's just a bit more searching involved. Now actually, if we're in our main composition and we right-click, we can open this composition flowchart, and would you look at that? Nodes in After Effects. Now, you can't really interact with this much, but it is a nice way to see where different layers and effects are throughout your project. Okay, our third
I never use that, to be fair.
Third difference between layers
Never used that
is data access. What I mean by this is that with nodes,
flow
we can
chart.
take data from any node and use it in a totally different place in the shot. Let's say we want to make this black and white cat footage an overlay for the entire shot. We can do this easily by adding a merge node at the bottom and connecting this.
But that was my thing. Like I always got, yeah, it was exactly pre-compose. I would always get. That's where I'd get lost. And it would be too pre-composed, and then it's like, what, where, what happened? Where'd it go? Where'd my project go?
All the way back to that color correct node. I'll change this merge to the plus operation and lower the opacity, and boom, we reuse that image data quite easily. Also, it's really nice that I can easily copy whole parts of the tree and reuse these node setups for, say, other shots. With layers and in After Effects, data access just isn't as flexible. Now, it might sound like I'm promoting nodes over layers so far, and that's not completely wrong, but there's another big difference that layers does way better than nodes, and that's editing and animation.
Well, that's like the point of the series that I've been doing, is so that I could learn how to properly use nodes. I mean, it takes time. You gotta relearn the workflow. I'm still not like. I'm kind of surprised that I'm not. That I'm still. I still feel like I have to really think about stuff. It's not at the point where it's like. I'm not thinking in terms of nodes, if that makes sense. Still. Which I'd like to be. I was hoping I would be. But I still don't think in nodes.
Let's say I'm in After Effects and I go into this pre-comp because I want to move this layer forward in the timeline. And then midway through the shot, let's split this layer so that we can create this edit point, and we'll zoom in on the cat's face. So we wind up with this. To do the same thing in Nuke, I first need to move the clip forward in time, so I'll use a time offset node set to negative 24 frames, 1 second. Then I'll create a branch here in the tree and add another transform node. I'll scale up the footage and position it like so. So we have two branches of this footage, one normal and one.
Yesterday I opened up in Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine uses nodes. And I definitely felt a change. So I'm starting to get the concepts. I'm starting to get the flow of stuff. I mean, this is not organized, but I do understand what's going on now compared to when I started. But when I was inside of Unreal Engine yesterday, I took a peek at the nodes section there, and I was way more comfortable than last time. Just kind of looking through it and reading it. Visual and logical, yeah. You'll get used to it under a year. Hopefully, yeah. I'm getting used to it, but I want to get to the point where it's like second nature for me to just think of most things in terms of nodes and flowcharts, yeah. Photoshop, yeah. Well, I don't know if I want a node-based Photoshop. Maybe. Where's this dude's video? I want to finish this.
Zoomed in. Next, I need to merge this zoomed in branch on top of the normal one. Then I'll animate this mix value, which is the same thing as opacity. I'll go from 1 at this frame, move a frame back, and set it to 0. So this is effectively how we make a cut. Now looking at these nodes, this just does not clearly communicate the retiming and editing decisions we've made. Having these layers on a timeline is so much easier to work with and understand. Finally, let's animate the shot to zoom in slowly. In After Effects, we'll link our screens to the background, and then animate the back and cut. So we have two branches in space. So we wind up with this. To do the same thing in Nuke, I first need to move the clip forward in time, so I'll use a time offset node set to negative 24 frames, 1 second. Then I'll create a branch here in the tree and add another transform node. I'll scale up the footage and position it like so. So we have two branches of this footage, one normal and one zoomed in. Next, I need to merge this zoomed in branch on top of the normal one. Then I'll animate this mix value, which is the same thing as opacity. I'll go from 1 at this frame, move a frame back, and set it to 0. So this is effectively how we make a cut. Now looking at these nodes, this just does not clearly communicate the retiming and editing decisions we've made. Having these layers on a timeline is so much easier to work with and understand. Finally, let's animate.
Okay, well that's a point for After Effects.
Made the shot to zoom in slowly. In After Effects, we'll link our screens to the background and then animate the background scaling.
I use we should break this out soon. Xmind, like a mind mapping flowchart type program. Your introduction the nodes, or you can use the edit page for that. We should do that. We should do that in maybe tomorrow, or we just open Xmind and do like flowcharts. Just hang out and flowchart, man.
And Nuke will add a final transform node and add keyframes to the scale. To edit these keyframes, we can go to the curve editor or the dope sheet. Since both layers and their keyframes live together on the timeline, interacting with both is intuitive and accessible. Since nodes in the node graph are separate from the timeline, keyframes and animation are not as accessible. So which one is better, layers or nodes? Now, if you're really going to make this choice in the real world, you have to choose a program like After Effects or Nuke. And once you do that, you go down a rabbit hole of comparing a bunch of other specific things like features, pricing, or even job opportunities related with each program. But for the sake of argument, let's pretend like all of this is equal so we can just compare layers and nodes. So in general, layers are going to be less complicated. That's going to give you a little bit less flexibility and control. They're great for simple visual effect shots, especially if you have a lot of editing and animation. On the other hand, nodes are more complicated, but that's going to give you more flexibility and control. They're great for complex visual effect shots and for building out more customizable workflows. Now, not to be anticlimactic, but I really don't think one is better than the other. I actually use both After Effects and Nuke, just depending on the project. At the end of the day, they're just two different ways of working that can truly lead to the same result. Now, if you want to know more about how I decide which program to use, I've released an exclusive video on my Patreon where I show some past projects and discuss why I used either After Effects or Nuke. Alright, well that's all I have for today. Hey, would you do me a favor and maybe share this video? Perhaps there's an
I'm gonna follow that guy. That was good. All right, cool. So this was a basic setup. I think I'm gonna end the stream at this point. We've successfully set this camera move with the globes. Yeah, it's really well made. Props to that guy. That is in Light VFX. His Aces video was my intro to Aces and linear color space. Ooh, yeah. I watched a tutorial yesterday for how to export Unreal Engine as for Aces. Output the render queue. I'm starting to wrap my head around the whole workflow for color spaces. Man, color spaces are so annoying. They're so annoying. There's so many of them. They seem like an unnecessary evil. But anyways, I mean, you can't fight it. I guess I gotta figure it out. Forget everything. Watch his videos. He goes into how our eyes has log curve when it comes to light and gamma. Okay. I know, but I'm saying like, what is it? Oh, not medium. Go into here, preferences, or file. Like this stuff. Well, that doesn't look so much. I gotta figure it out though. I'm starting to. Well, actually what I did was I followed the guy's tutorial and then I can save it as a preset. That's what I gotta do. Super complicated. Well, it's not complicated. I think I get why it's happening. But it's like very tedious. It's another tedious thing. It's like rigging. It makes sense. It's kind of straightforward. It's just tedious. I think there are a handful of people in the world who know exactly everything about color science. If you know, I think Beatty actually might know everything about color science. Been on the stream. He's hung out a few times. Has a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. Well, you're talking about like inside the color page too, right? And like setting up the node structures. I'm simply talking about converting the color space. He is. He does. He does. He is working with them. Yes, he does. Yeah. I mean, I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure he's super legit. So for the color science stuff, I don't know. We haven't gone into like the color page and how to set things up here for node structures for like color grading. That is different. I am just trying mentioning like the going up into here or like setting the color space here. That part is tedious. The fun part is like once you get over here and you can kind of like tweak it to have a different vibe. But anyways, that's all for today. I'm gonna get going. Hope you have a nice day. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for all the links. It was fun looking into that stuff and chatting about it. I'll be back on later tonight. No, I don't. The money eye. Get that money eye out of here. I'll see you, man.